The complete works of Swami Vivekananda, The Work Before Us, address by Swami Vivekananda at the Triplicane Literary Society, Madras, Part 4. There have been great conquering races in the world. We have also been great conquerors. The story of our conquest has been described by that noble emperor of India, Ashoka, as the conquest of religion and of spirituality. Once more, the world must be conquered by India. This is the dream of my life, and I wish that each one of you who hear me today will have the same dream in your minds, and stop not till you have realized that dream. They will tell you every day that we had better look at our own homes first and then go to work outside. But I will tell you in plain language that you work best when you work for others. The best work that you ever did for yourselves was when you worked for others. Trying to disseminate your ideas in foreign languages beyond the seas. And this very meeting is proof how the attempt to enlighten other countries with your thoughts is helping your own country. 1/4 of the effect that has been produced in this country by my going to England, America would not have been brought about had I confined my ideas only to India. This is the great ideal before us, and everyone must be ready for it. The conquest of the whole world by India, nothing less than that, and we must all get ready for it. Strain every nerve for it. Let foreigners come and flood the land with their armies, never mind. Up India and conquer the world with your spirituality. I, as has been declared on this soil first, love must conquer hatred. Hatred cannot conquer itself. Materialism and all its miseries can never be conquered by materialism. Armies, when they attempt to conquer armies, only multiply and make brutes of humanity. Spirituality must conquer the West. Slowly, they are finding out that what they want is spirituality to preserve them as nations. They are waiting for it. They are eager for it. Where is the supply to come from? Where are the men ready to go out to every country in the world with the message of the great sages of India? Where are the men who are ready to sacrifice everything so that this message shall reach every corner of the world? Such heroic sports are wanted to help the spread of truth. Such heroic workers are wanted to go abroad and help to disseminate the great truths of the Vedanta. The world wants it. Without it, the world will be destroyed. The whole of the Western world is on a volcano which may burst tomorrow, go to pieces tomorrow. They have searched every corner of the world and found no respite. They have drunk deep of the cup of pleasure and found it vanity. Now is the time to work so that India's spiritual ideas may penetrate deep into the West. Therefore, young men of Madras, I specially ask you to remember this. We must go out, we must conquer the world through our spirituality and our philosophy. There is no other alternative. We must do it or die. The only condition of national life, of awakened and vigorous national life, is the conquest of the world by Indian thought. At the same time, we must not forget that what I meant by conquest of the world by spiritual thought is sending out of the life-giving principles, not the hundreds of superstitions that we have been hugging to our breasts for centuries. These have to be weeded out even on this soil and thrown aside so that they may die forever. These are the causes of the degradation of the race and will lead to softening of the brain. That brain which cannot think high and noble thoughts, which has lost all power and originality, which has lost all vigor. That brain which is always poisoning itself with all sorts of little superstitions passing under the name of religion, we must beware of. In our sight here in India, there are several dangers. Of these, the two, Scylla and Charybdis, rank materialism, and its opposite, errant superstition, must be avoided. There is a man today who, after drinking the cup of Western wisdom, thinks that he knows everything. He laughs at the ancient sages. All Hindu thought to him is arrant trash. Philosophy, mere child's prattle, and religion, the superstition of fools. On the other hand, there is the man educated and a sort of monomaniac who runs to the other extreme and wants to explain the omen of this and that. He has philosophical and metaphysical, and Lord knows what other puerile explanations for every superstition that belongs to his peculiar race and his peculiar gods or his peculiar village. Every little village superstition is to him a mandate of the Vedas, and upon the carrying out of it, according to him, depends the national life. You must be beware of this. I would rather see every one of you as rank atheists than superstitious fools. For the atheist is alive, and you can make something out of him. But if superstition enters, the brain is gone. The brain is softening. Degradation has seized upon him. Avoid these two. Brave, bold men, these are what we want. What we want is vigor in blood, strength in nerves, iron muscles and nerves of steel, not softening namby-pamby ideas. Avoid all these. Avoid all mystery. There is no mystery in religion. Is there any mystery in the Vedanta, or in the Vedas, or in the Samhitas, or in the Puranas? What secret societies did the sages of you establish to preach their religion? What sleight of hand tricks are there recorded as used by them to bring their grand truths to humanity? Mystery mongering and superstition are always sign of weakness. These are always signs of degradation and of death. Therefore, beware of them. Be strong and stand on your own feet. Great things are there, most marvelous things. We may call them supernatural things so far as our own ideas of nature go. But not one of these things is a mystery. It was never preached on this soil that the truths of religion were mysteries, or that they were property of the secret societies sitting on the snow caps of the Himalayas. I have been in the Himalayas. You have not been there. It is several hundreds of miles from your homes. I am a sannyasi, and I have been for the last 14 years on my feet. These mysterious societies do not exist anywhere. Do not run after these superstitions. Better for you and for the race that you become rank atheists, because you have the strength. But these are degradation and death. Shame on humanity that strong men should spend all their time on these superstitions, spend all their time in inventing allegories to explain the most rotten superstitions of the world. Be bold. Do not try to explain everything that way. The fact is that we have many superstitions, many bad spots, and sores on our body. These have to be excised, cut off and destroyed. But these do not destroy our religion, our national life and our spirituality. Every principle of religion is safe, and the sooner these black spots are purged away, the better the principles will shine, the more gloriously stick to them.